Welcome to the Pitchwerks Podcast. I'm Scot McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epicast Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks Podcast.
I just recognized the condition was right to try something, and I just trusted my instinct, I guess I'll call it, to make a move or make a decision, and things didn't feel risky. It didn't feel risky to leave one job and start another company, or didn't feel risky to leave a high-paying job to go start something where you've got no income
right
for a year or more. I don't know. It's a feeling.
Hey everybody, it's Scott. It's Wednesday and it's the Pitchwerks Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I got to put a quick plug at the front of this week's show. Don't forget to sign up for Sales Bootcamp. That's right. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, I want to teach you how to do this thing. So it's 12 weeks long. It's $800. It's 2 hours a week for 12 weeks. You're going to go to 5 Star, which is up on Preble Avenue here locally. And come on in, bring your product. We're going to teach you how to be a proper professional sales rep. It's going to be really cool. But let me introduce you to my good friend, Dr. John Stakeley. He has just a wealth of experience. He's been everywhere. He's done everything. Whether you want to talk about being an employee, being an entrepreneur, being in the military, teaching karate, like teaching at 3 different universities simultaneously. Someday when I grow up, I want to be John, but let's face it, that's not terribly likely. Let's talk to John. Let's find out what he's up to. Dr. John Stakeley sitting across from me here in the Epicast studio. How are you doing, sir?
Scott, I'm doing great, and thanks for having me tonight.
It's a little weird, isn't it? Like, I'm not used to having microphones and headphones when you and I talk.
Yeah, we usually have a lot of conversations in a little bit different setting.
Yeah, right? Like classrooms or boardrooms or meeting rooms or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm looking across and you got the headphones on and you look like a guest. And this is, you and I have known each other for what, like a dozen years now?
Yeah, at least 12.
Yeah, it feels like a long time. You seem to be able to dip your toe in a lot of different waters. You're living a lifestyle, right? You've gotten to a point where you started a few businesses, some of which were like super serious, like major investment, and some were just things you wanted to see where they went. And then you started teaching and you said, oh, well, let's teach it. I don't know, 18 different colleges that you teach now? Yes, I'm busting on you, but it's all in good fun. I do want to talk about sort of how that all turns into a lifestyle. But let's start with the very, very basics. John Stakeley comes out of high school. What comes next? So
no strategic plan. I'm thinking if there was a strategic plan, God wrote it and he didn't give me a copy. So not really much of a plan. My dad was a steel worker, didn't go to college, didn't graduate high school. Yeah. And so he wasn't telling me, hey, you need to go to school and be an accountant or anything of that nature. In fact, he told me you got to get a job in a mill. Yeah. But I was at that age where the mills were all kind of winding down at that point. So I was thrust out there. And so hospitality. I got out there, started working. I did busboy, waiter, bartender, maitre d'. That's hard work. It's hard work. You learn how to deal with people, long schedules. I did it long enough to realize that I wanted to do something else. Yeah, well, for me, that'd be about 10 minutes. I just knew I wanted to do something else. I just didn't know what it was. Yeah. And I didn't have the role model in my life to say, here's where you should kind of go, and anybody mentoring me. So I just kind of fumbled around and realized, hey, I like technology. Maybe I should go to school and learn something about technology. Yeah. So at that point, I went to Gateway Tech and got a 2-year degree in EET, Electronic Engineering Technology. And I thought, come out and get a good job and do some cool stuff. And I graduated, and everybody's looking for 4-year degrees. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's how that works. Yeah, we're finally coming back off that now, right? We're finally starting to see, like, coding doesn't require a 4-year degree, right? But I agree with that. Only recently was anybody actually willing to say that out loud. That used to be blasphemy. Well, I'd say it, and I agreed. We hired, my last couple of companies, many people with 2-year degrees, tech degrees, and they did great. Great employees. There was no reason why they need to get deeper in debt to have a good career in tech. I don't think anybody, when they start their venture through education, got this big plan. I think everybody's kind of feeling their way through it. How are you supposed to know what to do? So you're taking your tentative steps, and it's okay to go to the 2-year degree route. In fact, you can have a great career, do cool things, make good money. Yeah. So I think this is a good thing, and I think we need more of that. But I did come out, and I was looking for tech jobs, and they said, oh, you need to have a 4-year engineering degree. So bam, I went back to school. Point Park University, got my degree in electrical engineering.
Oh, the lovely and talented Mrs. McTaggart matriculated from the very same institution.
local university, great university. And that's really what gave me my start. So then I could start interviewing. I could get interviews.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Scott. I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I started interviewing the big companies and just not feeling the vibe. I'm thinking I don't know if this is where I need to be going.
Yeah.
So I got hooked up with my first tech startup right out of school. It was a couple $1 million.
Nice.
I met one of the founders, and he had an effect on me. And I was very curious, and I wanted to learn. And he's telling me, we're a few $1 million now, but in 3 years, we're going to be $100 million. I couldn't even mentally process that.
Yeah, you can't fathom that number at that age.
Oh, not at all.
So you basically make a decision that either A, I like the way I'm treated here. B, I like sort of the work, whatever that may be, because it tends to change a lot at that early age. They intern you to see if you're an idiot, right? If they're going to keep you. They put you on, they find out that you're okay. They're like, okay, you're young and you're smart. Read this book and figure out this thing that nobody wants to learn, right? And then you actually end up on that management type track, right? So what kind of business was that? You said it was technology startup.
Yep, building automation.
Oh, nice.
So what's this system do? It's the digital system that controls HVAC equipment, electrical systems,
right?
Commercial B2B type transactions. So large buildings, for example, controlling all the mechanical, electrical equipment. And of course, I knew nothing about this when I got there. I networked my way in, and I tell people that every job I got was through networking. Networked my way in, and I just learned it on the job. I mean, school taught me just enough to kind of figure some of this out, and I just threw myself at the job.
Yeah,
and had a good attitude and just a willingness to learn. And I happened to link up with one of the founders that became my mentor, Mark Sankey, and I learned a lot from him on the tech side and on the business side. By the way, we're very close friends today. He comes in, he's a guest speaker in class. He shares his time and experience with my students. And so it's interesting because now we're pretty much peers. But I don't know. I guess he had a willingness to teach, and he saw something in me that maybe encouraged him to kind of share his knowledge.
Yeah.
Maybe mentors have to want a mentor, I guess. And I guess I had to be like the sponge and wanted to learn and listen.
But at some point, you become entrepreneurial.
Yeah, so I quickly realized that entrepreneurial environment, the fact that with huge, fast growth, working with emerging technology, a willingness to take risks, to try things, to solve problems with technology. I like that environment, that culture, the culture of your supervisors there to remove obstacles so you can just grow.
It feels like you started as an entrepreneur. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I was, they didn't ask my advice about the company, and I certainly didn't have an equity stake, but I recognized that they were growing and they were looking for people to help them grow. And so I learned that environment over a period of, I guess I was there for 3 years. So during that time, I just realized this is interesting. So I brought to it a sense of curiosity, a sense of hard work, and a sense of resiliency, bounce back from setbacks. And so I guess I had the raw ingredients for the right recipe.
I think you need to take the credit on this one because you and I did a meeting, I don't know, 1,000 years ago, where you were telling me about how software needed to be written in order to solve customer problems. That's entrepreneurial, that's as entrepreneurial as it gets, right? So like we need to take it upon ourselves to write software because this giant building is wasting all of this money, and there's a way that we can benefit them, but it's not in the same way that maybe people expect us to. We have to be a little creative. We have to find somebody who understands how to write software, and then we have to make it so that it actually does what we set out to do. It's project management, it's creative thinking, it's going along with a vision. That felt like the stepping stone. And then next thing I know, I'm like, well, wait, he's doing what now? Like, and you teach these entrepreneurial programs, you mentor a bunch of startups in the area. I know you're invested in things, even though you play that close to the vest. So this didn't just naturally sort of like erode away some sort of, this was always in you. And now all of a sudden you've got a stage set where you can become John the Tinkerer across many different fronts. Is that fair?
I think it is. I think I was, again, in the right place, the right time, and the conditions were right. And then, I had curiosity, and then so some valuable things happen in entrepreneurial environments. Like you get to do a lot. So I got to do engineering. So I was a project engineer.
Yeah.
I got to do project management. I fell into sales quite by accident. I didn't even know what I was volunteering for, but I volunteered for it. So along the way, I had enough operations experience and sales experience to realize I like both of them. They're both important. I recognize that there's sometimes conflict between those two sides of the house.
We were literally just talking about that before we turned the microphones on.
And I realized if you can be good in both of those areas, it could take you a lot of places. You can add a lot of value. You can create interesting jobs for other people and have fun doing it.
you're coaching these people, you're teaching people entrepreneurship at Robert Morris University, at the University of Pittsburgh now, congratulations. Yes. At Chatham University, I'm reading it off your chest. I'm cheating on this one. Obviously teaching is, something that you got that bug. Like people say, like, I got the entrepreneurial bug. You got the teaching bug. But teaching entrepreneurship seems like the curriculum changes regularly.
Well, yeah, and it's a very difficult subject to teach. I'll just say that, because if you think about all the skills that one has to have to be an entrepreneur, we're going across human resources, marketing, sales, operations, accounting, finance, leadership, operations management. There's all these skills that are required. And so you're expecting a lot out of the students in your class. They've got to kind of bring some skills to the class to start with.
Right.
Just so you're starting at least zero and going forward. Because, in my classes, what I teach is how to start a company. And I try to get to focus on tech companies for a whole bunch of reasons. I think that's where the opportunity is, whether you want to be a small company or a large company.
And let me buttress that point by saying there's also a lot of easily referenceable examples that are diverse.
Sure. It changes frequently. So I've been teaching for 5 years, and by the way, I got here kind of accidentally as well too. Just back it up a second, because you'd say, how did I leave industry and make this move? Well, thanks to the Army, my education was covered, including my doctoral degree. Pretty much need a doctorate degree to get into teaching. So I got my doctorate degree. I wasn't really looking to teach.
Right.
It was a challenge. I was looking for the opportunity to learn more, and going through the process, you start reflecting, your advisor's telling you about teaching. So you start thinking about it. And next thing you know, I got contacted by first Pitt and then RMU. So here I am. But I realized too that, so teaching in a university, I'm thinking it's not that different from running a company. In a company, I'm teaching employees, maybe clients, other stakeholder groups. So teaching in a university, so it's not that different. It's transferable skills. Just the setting's different. So for me, that felt natural to make that move. But it's hard to kind of get started. You got a lot you got to learn. You're kind of on your own to figure that out.
And there's a culture to it. Teaching has a different culture. It feels slower.
And you're often on your own to kind of figure out how to do it. So you got to do your own kind of planning, get your own feedback, do your own assessment and analysis, and saying, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, what do I got to change? And I do that type of analysis every semester. So if you're saying, does it change frequently? It changes every semester.
I believe that because the best practices change. What we hear out of the thought leaders changes regularly. And this is one of the questions I've always wondered is, when you've got an entrepreneurship program, where do you even get that curriculum? Like, I'm used to, and understand, I come from a family of people that taught sort of primary school, right? So I'm used to sort of state board of education kind of thinking. I'm not as familiar with how an institution of higher learning would do this. But writing curriculum is hard on its own. Rewriting curriculum on a regular, ongoing basis feels like the Sisyphus rock up and down the hill every single day. I'm wondering, like, how does that get written? How do you write up what you're going to teach this semester?
So I guess it starts with a plan of picking a textbook. So there's communications with your team at your university to identify some texts, and you work with the big companies to put out the texts. You do your research and evaluation and try to look at what's out there current in the literature, and you make some decisions. So that's kind of your foundation. Yeah. But see, once your foundation is laid, then it's where I think that you have to use your skills, talents, and abilities to figure out how to build the house on top of that framework. But
with all the different colleges that you're teaching at, right? The curricula do not agree with each other in some cases. Am I right?
They're all a little different.
Right. And you've got to have one where, I don't know, Monday this week you're at Chatham and you were like, oh, this is exactly how I feel about this subject, or this is how I've had success. And then on Tuesday you're somewhere else teaching what would be the same lesson at a different college, and you don't agree with that. How much wiggle room is there?
Yeah, well, there's wiggle room, and there's more similarities than difference. For example, if you're teaching somebody how to build a pitch deck and do a pitch, we can say that there's going to be some commonality there. Writing a business plan, some commonality. Doing customer value proposition research, similar. It might have to do with constraints of time or how big the class is, whether the class is online, whether it's on ground. So there's a lot of different nuances. I guess the biggest thing is you got to be very flexible. Just like if you start up a company and you have more than one product.
Right.
So here I am, Dr. Stakeley Incorporated, and I have different products. And I've got to be able to service those products and deliver different ones based on what the customer wants. So you got to be very broad thinking about how you approach things and try to do things different. And again, you keep learning.
I think everything you're saying is reasonable. Where my commentary comes from right now is almost sort of like, I think we're living in a time right now where people are trying to tear down institutional thinking, right? That there is no right way to be an entrepreneur, which is, I don't believe, the right way of looking at it, because there are definitely best practices, or at least improved practices, that can save you time, money, energy. There are losses that are on the table. This is a gamble. And then when you find yourself looking at these curricula, you're like, oh, well, ABC college teaches it this way and XYZ college teaches it that way. It's up to the professor. It's up to the person who's actually supposed to be teaching. And I want to tell people that it's really not that much different, but I'm not in a place that I'm an expert on that.
So the question might become then, because you asked it earlier, how do you get this ideas for this curriculum? So here's what I'm going to tell you from experience. Okay, so that's the good answer. So I would have a very hard time teaching this subject, if I didn't have 30 plus years of experience in
I feel
doing
that.
it.
Okay.
Because that's where I get my ideas from. I tried things, I did things, some things worked, some things didn't work.
Yeah.
And I bring those stories to life in class. And that's really the foundation of how I'm implementing my ideas. So it would be, and this is, look, I'll be very candid, this is a challenge, I think, in higher education. It's a complete different career track to go the route to become a professor. You don't really have to go out and get a lot of what we call real world experience, right? It's a different career track.
Right.
So I'm kind of the outlier. I'm the
you can master the curriculum without actually going out and proving it.
And because I'm the non-traditional faculty, right? So I was out there in the real world for 30 years, and I learned the hard way. I took my lumps. I figured out what worked, but didn't work. So I share those ideas with the students. So I bring in the academic research part, but I bring in the real world experience, what works and what doesn't work. And then, listen, I don't know it all. I bring in guest speakers. You're one of them. And I love to listen to other people's ideas. And it's a continual changing learning process.
I struggle with this. We're about to start this sales boot camp here. And I've never been the person who wants to tell people this is the one way. I have always shied away from doing a big production like this. I've always wanted to do it. This program is going to have like 25 people, right? And I love coming into your classroom. I love the one-on-one where I can think fast enough and respond fast enough to tell somebody something that is impactful, right? But it is draining and difficult to do that on the regular.
Yeah.
And I also can't help but feel like a little tiny bit of self-doubt in you go like, well, am I really up to date? Do I really have the latest and greatest? Am I just patting myself on the back? So any teaching tips or self-coaching would be appreciated. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I've been thinking about it a lot because we're starting this program and I'm sitting here going like, I've never wanted to be the person who tells people there's one right way to do something.
So I'll answer it this way. So, there's all this talk about thought leadership.
I hate that word.
I'm not a user of it. People use it. I would say, how about being an action leader?
How about people self-apply?
Yeah, do it. Just go ahead and do it. That's what we talk about. Take action. So in other words, you don't need all the answers. You don't need all the information. You don't know all the details about the problem a client's having or what this product's involved in. You have some information. Take action.
Yeah.
Because if you wait until you have all the information, you've missed your opportunity.
I believe every word of that. And I've thank you for that. I've heard variations on that. Probably my favorite version was, if you wait till it's pretty, you've waited too long. Right? Like when talking about products though, not training, right? It's like, oh, if your product is pretty when you first ship it, you waited too long. I do. I think the responsibility of mentorship weighs heavy. Like, I'm very aware of people who are self-aggrandizing and they put themselves into a position of authority so they can take advantage of it. You've seen it.
Yeah. And again, to support the idea of how do you get ready for this is, do your homework.
Right.
So preparation, right? So whatever you're going to do, if you're going to teach a class or start a company, however you're going to do it, be organized, make a plan, be flexible, do your research, do your homework, whether you're going to go in front of those prospects or in front of those students, do with as much planning and preparation as you can, and knowing that you don't know it all and you're going to have to navigate and maybe be flexible, but That's just part of it.
I don't know, buddy.
Embrace it.
That feels off brand. All right.
Be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I honestly, I'm very comfortable with being uncomfortable. Again, like maybe it's an aging thing, right? You know, you get older and all of a sudden you realize you're the person that knows the oral history and it's your job to spread it. You're like, God, I hope I don't screw this up. But let me ask you this question now. So you get to see people when they are learning to be entrepreneurs. So when you're, say, 19 years old, you're looking at this class and you don't know what maybe character flaws to cover up or things to work on, right? So you get to see people come in basically as raw product.
Oh, sure.
And I'm just curious, like, what is it that you see that people have to work on the most?
Oh, wow. You're asking me this tough question.
I think it's a cool question, though.
So, yeah, look, we have the benefit of being older. All right. So what is that? As we get older, we get wiser.
Yeah. Is there a benefit to being fatter? Because I got that going, too.
Blood pressure goes up. But when you're younger, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to show up. That's how it all starts.
Right.
Play the game. Show up. Have a healthy work ethic. Have a healthy sense of curiosity. Play well with others.
Yeah.
This is the process. Yeah, you're talking about a raw product, a young person that doesn't know anything.
Right. And there's tendencies right now. I'll tell you what I'm seeing, and I'm just curious to see whether or not you've seen the same. We're putting so much one way or the other. I don't want to be the old man who yells at the cloud, right? But we're putting a lot of pressure on young people to seem like a success on day one. Because there are these illusion machines out there that make everything look perfect in somebody else's life. So they pull up their Instagram and they see someone who seems like they have a Lamborghini at 22 years old. They have, this perfect life. They're already a prodigy, right? And it's almost like, why try? I'm never going to catch up. We've put this just insurmountable challenge in front of a lot of our young people. And I think right now is more important than ever to say, like, look, you just got to grind. You just got to put one foot in front of the other. And I promise you, it's never been what it looks like. Whenever you look at something on a screen, it's never been real, right? I don't know. I see it a lot.
Well, so I agree with you. And I think what happens then as leaders, what we got to do is we have to share that reality with people. I don't know. I talk real world to my students because, again, that's my background.
And you bring in people. You bring people in from the outside world who you don't prep us. You don't prep us and tell us to go soft.
No, we want reality. We definitely want unrehearsed. Show up, share your ideas, engage the students, see what their questions are, share your thoughts and process with. Everybody has a perspective. It's valuable. I think that's what we need to do with students. Just have them think about things. Think about the big picture. Think about what it means to have a job. What does it mean to work? And people have to have a purpose in life. Yeah. Because you got to focus your life on something. It's got to be something. And it's more than collecting a paycheck.
Let's hope, right?
Creating something, yeah.
Yeah, because okay, so let's get back to the broader John Stakeley Heavy Industries amalgamated chai bowl that you've got going on over there. Yeah, I pulled Korean into this conversation because I'm just that sharp. So you still dabble. You're still teaching martial arts. You're still involved with the military. You're still involved with. What is it really? 3 colleges now? 4?
Yeah, 3.
Okay. I said like 18 earlier, and I was only half kidding. So you're obviously on a mission. You've got this lifestyle, sort of built for yourself. And I think a lot of people would love to have a purpose-oriented, purpose-driven life, but they don't necessarily know how to get there, right? You said yourself when you first got started out, you didn't necessarily know what the orientation was. So you had an unfair advantage. You actually, forgive me for saying so, kind of started late, right? Like you burned some years in the early going just trying to figure out like which end was up.
It's so hard just to get started.
It is hard, right? So now let's go back. Let's talk to young Stakeley, but he's not in the same year you were in. He's in 2019. The environment's changed. Everything's different. Right? What do you tell? Let's make it 25-year-old Stakeley. If he shows up here in 2019 in the Epicast Studios, what's your advice? How do you navigate what's out there? You've got a purpose-driven life right now. You kind of get to choose your own adventure now. Yeah,
and this is again the benefit of getting older and getting wiser, and just trying things. You don't know. So sometimes people ask you, how did you know when to leave a company, or how did you know when to start something up, or how did you know when this person was going to be a co-founder with you? I don't have an easy answer for that. It was a feeling. I don't know how to explain it. I just recognized a condition was right to try something, and I just trusted my instinct, I guess I'll call it, to make a move or make a decision. And things didn't feel risky. It didn't feel risky to leave one job and start another company, or didn't feel risky to leave a high-paying job to go start something where you've got no income
right.
for a year or more. I don't know. It's a feeling.
But you'd tell him to try things.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, I think you just be prepared and have your eyes open for opportunities and think big.
Now I'm going to ask you a semi-religious, semi-philosophy question, and I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable place, right? But there are people who would say, make the most of the time that you've got. You only live once. If you want to try something, go do it. Yes, that also gets translated as YOLO, right? Which is like people lighting themselves on fire and jumping off of ski jumps and stuff, right? So that's why I say it's like semi in that religious and philosophical thing. So let's assume I don't mean the hedonistic side. Let's assume I don't mean like, I don't know, like what? Let's not go on a murder spree, right? Just to keep it traditional. Are you a one life guy? Are you try everything because you're only going to get one shot at it?
Part of me wants to think that there is some divine intervention, some divine plan that we just can't comprehend.
Right.
I think that's the way the world is, and everybody's entitled to their own personal beliefs and opinions. But I feel that there's something bigger than us, in a sense that takes some pressure off you to just not try to realize that you have to figure everything out.
Yeah.
I really don't. I try to live in the present. I try to be mindful. I try to enjoy every moment and every day with all the people that I'm with, knowing that it's all going to work out. I mean, I could look, my wife passed away last year. She was very healthy.
Yeah.
It happened
I was so
suddenly.
sorry to hear that.
And how do you plan for that?
Especially with your kids and everything.
3 kids. Yeah. I got a 20-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son. Nothing prepared us for it. And I have to believe that, there's a God and he has a plan.
Right.
And so I got to trust in him and in the world around us. And if you do the right things and work hard, things work out.
I meet so many people who are adventurous and entrepreneurial and risk takers and whatnot. And I wonder, would they take that same risk if they didn't think that they were on an abbreviated schedule, right? Like, or if they didn't think they were on an abbreviated schedule, I said, is what I mean. If you thought, like, if you believe that you were going to be reincarnated, is there a possibility that you'd put something off?
I could see where somebody could think that.
That's what I'm asking, right?
But my worldview isn't that way. I think there's something beyond, but I don't.
See, I have this thing where I'm 100% like in the now, in a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And you and I both know Ted Butler, who does a great job for career services over at Pittsburgh Technical College. And Ted once threatened to have a T-shirt made that says, "I survived Scot McTaggart," right? And I think first of all, I deserve that. But secondly, it's because I am trying to squeeze so much in, because the only thing I can prove is what's in front of my nose. And I'm trying not to miss out on anything.
Well, I can tell you something else this makes me think about this. So I'm in the Army, right? So I've been in the military since 1993, Pennsylvania Army National Guard, armor officer most of my career, left, got my doctoral degree, came back in the Army Reserve. And so been in for whatever, over 21 good years, we'll say it that way. But, I was in combat in Iraq, 2004, 2005, and it was very dangerous and intense. And, we lost 13 soldiers and we had 92 wounded in action. And I didn't have the guys had harder jobs than me, but I thought to myself, if I just can get through this alive,
right,
every day the rest of my life is going to be easy. It won't be any harder than combat.
Mm-hmm.
So that changes the way you think about yourself and the world around you. And in a way, your brain just deals with stress. It's that way here. It's that way in different places. In a combat zone, the stress level is really high.
Yeah.
And somehow your brain rewires itself to deal with the stress, and there's a calming effect. So this lets you do your job,
right,
and it ends up keeping you safe, right? Because you make the right decisions. And then you come home, you're a little bit different. But I did realize that, you can accomplish difficult things. You can get through things that are extremely challenging.
One last question before I let you go, and that is, of all the different businesses that are out there right now, right? I want you to put your investor hat on right now, right? Here we are. We're sitting in a studio, May of 2019. And for the purposes of this exercise, you have all the money in the world, right? You have whatever money you need to write a check for. So it doesn't matter if it's a thing where a small amount of money is, not going to get you somewhere. Money's no object. What's the thing you want to invest in right now?
Well, that's a good question. So if money's unlimited, I have to think big. It could be probably something to do with sustainability, because we're going to run out of resources at some point on this planet. The population's growing. Unless we can build spaceships fast enough to send everybody to Mars.
I don't want to go to Mars. I really don't.
There's people that want to.
All right, that's all the time we've got. Thanks to John Stakeley for coming on in. He doesn't even have a plug. He's just coming in here to basically share some wisdom, and I do appreciate it. You can always find him on LinkedIn. His name, again, is Dr. John Stakeley, Stakeley. I'm sure he would accept any LinkedIn connections, and if you want to ask him some questions, pick his brain, he will get to that for you. Buzzy and I, on the other hand, we are shallow and unavailable. You can only get us on Wednesday mornings. Take care of yourselves in the meantime.
The Pitchwerks Podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, pitchwerks.